Nickolas Butler is an author known for his lyrical, character-driven writing and crafting settings with a strong sense of place. His first novel was the internationally best-selling and prize-winning Shotgun Love Songs.
In 2019, Butler released his fourth book, Little Faith, to critical acclaim. If that title sounds familiar to our listeners, Little Faith was an open book club selection here at the library. In his latest book, A 40-Year Kiss, Nickolas Butler returns to small-town Wisconsin with a wonderful, life-affirming love story set in Chippewa Falls. Nickolas Butler lives in rural Wisconsin on 16 acres of land adjacent to a buffalo farm with his wife and 2 children. We are thrilled to welcome Nickolas Butler to the first 50 pages.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us today. So before we jump into talking about your latest book, A 40-Year Kiss, which Jenn and I both adored, by the way, I couldn't start our interview without sharing how much I love your work and the nostalgia for home your books evoke in me. I'm originally from Wisconsin and miss it terribly. I probably talk about it too much at work all the time. But when I read your books, you capture Wisconsin in such a beautiful, authentic way, and I get to armchair visit some of my favorite cities, landmarks, and locales. I guess what I'm trying to say with that really long-winded explanation is thank you.
Oh, thank you. Where are you from in Wisconsin?
I'm originally from up by the Minocqua Eagle River area, so it's like a tiny town called Saner. So it's like 200 plus people.
Yeah,
so pretty small.
I know that area pretty well.
And I went to school at Eau Claire, so especially in this book, everywhere I was like, oh, I've been there and I've been there. And so that's just really fun, a fun thing that I get to do with your book. So thank you again.
Nice. Thank you very much.
We came across a short YouTube clip where you detailed the events that sparked your inspiration to write A 40-Year Kiss. Could you share the story of that night with us?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I think it was, it's been a little while now, maybe 3 years back. I forget. I have it written down somewhere. But long and short of it is I was sitting at the bar of the Tomahawk Room, which is one of my favorite bars anywhere in the world, but especially like as far as northern Wisconsin bars go, it's just kind of holds a magical place for me anyway. But I was sitting at the bar working a Sudoku puzzle, not really paying attention to much of anything else, but there were 2 folks, maybe in their mid to late 60s, seated at the bar kind of nearby me, and I heard the man turn to the woman and say something like, I still dream about you. I dream about the nights we had together. I dream about kissing you. May I kiss you? And I just really started blushing pretty hard at that point. But I also got my telephone out because I had the sense that I was witnessing something unusual and magical. And I expected that they were going to have this kind of polite, chaste kiss, but it wasn't like that at all. It was very passionate and long. It was a remarkable kiss. Let's put it that way. And then the guy kept saying really vulnerable, poetic things to this woman, all of which does not normally happen at the Tomahawk Room, no matter how cool a bar it is. Those 2 old people eventually left the bar, and I was just sitting there thinking, well, this is what I have to write next.
Well, first of all, it's such a great hook for this book, that, little part that you just shared, because it is such a poetic and vulnerable. I love those words because it really does capture the reader into the story of these 2 people. It was, and you really bring that magic to the story writing, I think. Do your writing ideas usually spark for you in such a unique way?
Like Shotgun Love Songs was a lot about homesickness, loneliness, things like that. The Hearts of Men came about because, I had a conversation with a guy, a stranger on a plane, about fatherhood and what kind of dad my dad had been, and it all kind of came out of that. Little Faith came about because I'd been thinking about this true crime case, and about faith healing, and also thinking about writing a book that would be like a testimony of how wonderful my father-in-law is as a human being. So in the past, I would say it kind of sprang from different places, but lately it seems to be, eavesdropping or conversations I'm having with people. It's kind of I'll take the inspiration wherever I can find it.
But I think that's such a testament to your talent that you can take a conversation that are inadvertently eavesdropping on and turn it into such a wonderful, wonderful story. I think a lot of us might overhear these conversations, but we don't necessarily think like, oh, that could turn into, a creative project or a literary endeavor. So I just think that's really cool.
Thank you very much.
So for our listeners who haven't yet had a chance to read A 40-Year Kiss, do you want to share a little bit more about what it's about? Like we've been talking love story, but there is more to this story. Do you want to share any more of that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, so I shared a little bit about where the book came from, but that is a good hook to kind of explain to readers, booksellers, librarians about where the book came from. But that's certainly not enough to write a 300 odd page book about two people's lives. So basically, after those people left the bar, and I had this feeling that there was something there worth writing about. I mean, I just began asking myself the kind of questions that fiction writers have to ask, which is, okay, it seemed like this was a somewhat desperate meeting that had probably been kind of arranged by the man. He was in that moment more vulnerable than the woman. It felt like they had been together at one point a long time ago. I wasn't sure whether they were high school sweethearts, college lovers, if they'd been married in their early 20s, whatever it was. But a long time had passed since the last time they'd seen each other. It also seemed to me in that moment that the man was not from the area. He was talking about like a shopping trip he'd taken to Minneapolis and these nice clothes that he'd bought. And I thought, okay, well, that's not really the kind of thing you hear at the Tomahawk. And the woman was quieter. So I thought, well, maybe she's from this area. I started to think about, okay, well then why didn't she leave the area and why did he leave the area and what broke them up? And why does he want to get together now? And so all those kind of questions culminated in this story where Charlie and Vivian were married 40 years ago. Their marriage didn't last long because Charlie was an alcoholic, which is psychologically realistic to my part of Wisconsin, where we like to joke that we drink Wisconsibly. Vivian has had to be a mother and a caretaker and a grandmother, while Charlie has really lived a life that's kind of like an adventure. His lifestyle has allowed him to save money and kind of become low-key wealthy. And her life has been kind of not quite destitute, but she has never really had any extra money at all. And I think they're at a point in their lives where they're both curious whether there's something left. But, when you've lived your life a certain way over 60 years, can you change? Can you allow somebody back into your life? Can you change your habits? And so that's part of the question. Like, it's a love story, of course, but it's also, it's kind of a mystery in a way. Like, are they going to make it? Should they make it? And I think that's what keeps people turning pages.
It is written in a very compelling way, too, because you have the point of view of both Charlie and Vivian. So you're able to kind of go back and forth between the characters. And, they're both very strong characters, right? So, yeah, you get all those questions, all that tension, like, should they be together?
Yeah, the alternating, I guess it's alternating close third-person perspectives that I chose made writing the book fun, because what that enables you to do as a writer is to preserve certain secrets or information and slowly disperse information to the reader as you go along. So the reader can be aware that there's certain information that they have and certain information that they're waiting for. And that also results, I think, in people turning pages.
And much of this book is about second chances, whether it be, the second chance at love, life or family relationships. Why was it so important for your characters to have these chances for redemption?
Well, I mean, I think that's what the whole meeting in the bar was about, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, the man certainly wanted a second chance. And what was unclear to me, it seemed like the woman was curious. She certainly kissed him, and she had some questions for him that were romantic. But I was unsure whether that was just enough for her to allow him another chance. But just the fact that she didn't push him away seemed like enough to explore it as a novel too, right? Like, yeah. But I also, I'm the kind of person. I read this quote by Orson Welles, and it's something that I agree with too. Like, you will hear people in our culture say that they don't believe in regret. And I have never understood that. I'm the kind of person who makes like a silly mistake, a silly social faux pas, and that will eat me up for years. There will just be random moments where I'm driving my kids to school and think, God, why did I do that? And I'm not even talking about like a crime or a sin or a meanness or something like that. I'm just talking about like a super stupid, superficial faux pas will eat me alive. And I think regret teaches you how to become a better human being, right? You hold that regret in a place and you realize, I don't want to do that again. I want to be better than that. So I don't know. I guess I personally want to believe in second chances.
I think everybody kind of wants to root for a second chance too, or kind of that redemption arc of we can mess up, but we can be better, or make changes to apologize to the people in our lives, or to apologize for different relationships or decisions that have been made.
Yeah, I think so too.
Was there, kind of writing this, was there a storyline or relationship that proved more difficult to write than you expected as you went through the process?
The toughest thing with these characters was just deciding where to stop, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, the arc of this novel probably happens over less than a year, but I kind of wanted to keep following the characters, but at some point you have to stop.
You're like, it probably can't be like a 900-page book of we're just going to follow Charlie and Vivian and Melissa and the kids forever. And...
Right. The 900-page kiss. That doesn't sound as good. Yeah.
So a common theme or hallmark, if you will, of your writing is the extraordinary care that you take in crafting your characters. And I think readers can really feel that through like the depth you give them, the complexities of their personalities, the different like relationships you cultivate, and just like the sheer raw beauty in how you describe them. What drives you to be so character driven in your writing?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat all those lovely things you said?
Sure,
maybe
of
take
course I can.
5 minutes longer.
Yeah.
I don't know. Keep
I'll just go really slow. Just read them again.
Perfect. Yeah. I think there's writers that are. Well, I mean, like in certain genres, right? Like a mystery novel, which I love. I love mystery novels. Mystery novels hinge more on plot, I think it's fair to say, or action. And I just, I guess I've always been interested in writing the kind of novels that I like, or that I first fell in love with, where, you understand the setting very well. Okay. And I want that to feel like very intimate and well understood, what the universe of the book looks like, what the seasons feel like, the landscape. But then, the next part is characters. And I just really for me as the writer, I have to really feel these people, deeply and understand them deeply. And that's the kind of book that I grew up, loving. So I don't know. I think when it comes to process, I don't really start writing the book until I really understand who the characters are. And it might be that I have an idea for a novel, but I kind of sit with it for years until I fully understand where I'm going, because I don't want to feel writer's block. And that means that when I sit down at the computer, I have to kind of know pretty much what the book is going to look like, 80% of the book, I would say. I don't want to sit down at the computer one day and be like, oh, I don't understand who Melissa is. Or, I started writing Charlie, but that's not who Charlie is at all. That would be horrifying to me.
I hear you. And of course, as a library podcast based here in Iowa, we'd be remiss if we didn't at least touch on your education at the Iowa Writers Workshop. This prestigious program has produced 30 Pulitzer Prize winners, 21 MacArthur Genius Grant recipients, 19 National Book Award winners, and 8 U.S. Poet Laureates. All I can say is, wow, I knew it was good, but I didn't know it was that good. Has there been a specific piece of advice or skill that you learned during that time that has proven invaluable to you as your writing career has progressed?
The piece of advice that I actually share most readily and most consistently has nothing to do with writing. My first teacher at the Iowa Writers Workshop was James Allen McPherson. First Black man to win the Pulitzer Prize, graduated from Harvard Law, MacArthur Genius Fellow, a luminous soul and personality, and a great teacher. I think when I had him, he was certainly winding down his career. But he always used to ask, he didn't seem to want to talk about my writing a whole lot, which might say something. He always asked me about my wife, and he asked me about my kids, which I interpreted to mean that they were more important than my writing. And later I heard him say that the Pulitzer Prize won't visit you in the nursing home.
Yeah.
So what I take from that is basically like fame and accolades. They're pretty fleeting, and they're not, they're lovely, of course, right? But they don't really mean anything. But our human relationships mean something much more enduring and important. And I care a lot about my writing career. Of course, was my dream as a boy to be a writer, but I don't ever want to put it ahead of being a good husband or a good dad or friend or brother. And Jim was the kind of person who would remind you of that.
So we're going to name drop here. In a previous episode, we talked with Leif Anger, and he just kind of about how he felt he had made it when he found one of his books at a garage sale. Like it had made its way all through the ecosystem to somebody's garage sale. Has there been a specific moment or experience for you where you felt like you've made it?
Yeah, for sure. There's been several of those moments, though it's also tempered by the fact that in writing, you might have made it, but that doesn't mean that you're going to continue to make it, right?
Sure,
which is kind of a weird thing to hold in your head. It's a really difficult way to make a living. And, I think for your average reader, you imagine that somebody's written, say, 2, 3, 4, or 5 books, whatever it is, like, oh, well, they're just going to be able to write for the rest of their life. Like they've proven they can do it. It's not really like that. If a publisher doesn't make money on you, you might be done. So like the moments when I made it, after Shotgun Love Songs was sold, I remember going out to dinner with my wife and our son Henry to celebrate. And I've known my wife since we were teenagers. We were high school sweethearts. And so she knew what my whole journey was like. Of course, she knew it better than anyone else. And she just said, I can't believe you did it. And I knew what that meant was not that she couldn't believe that I had made it, but really that she'd seen everything and understood how difficult it was. And it wasn't that I just made it, it was that I actually made it in a pretty great way. And that meant a ton to me because she's, Norwegian American. These people don't really emote. They certainly don't compliment a whole lot. And, I could see it and hear it, like that she really understood how difficult it had all been.
So in most, if not all the interviews you've done, you share some really great titles that you've read or books that you're most looking forward to reading. And two of my favorites that you've mentioned were Ileana Reagan's Fieldwork and Helen McDonald's H is for Hawk. And of course, I've now added Annie Dillard's essays to my to-be-read list per your recommendation. So I've got to ask, what books are you enjoying right now or are most looking forward to reading this year?
Well, I was just in Ames, Iowa, at Dog-Eared Books, and I'll joke that for somebody like me, a book tour is almost like a net negative because I go into bookstore after bookstore and I'm a book addict to begin with. And then you meet all these lovely, folks that are introducing you to their favorite books. And so you leave the bookstore with $75 of books and add them to the stacks of books that I haven't already read at our house. But the book that I really am passionate about right now, which is not going to be easy for your readers to find. I'm going to sprinkle some breadcrumbs, but there's a guy in our community named Matt Mavis. And for the last many years, he has been writing letters to Coach Matt LaFleur, head coach of the Green Bay Packers, after every Green Bay Packers game. Like, he writes these impassioned letters on a typewriter. If the Packers lose, he'll call into question why LaFleur called this play at such point or didn't call a timeout. Or the letters are hilarious. They're emotional. They're raunchy. And when the first book came out, it's just published by a small publisher called Heron Press. I'm friends with the publisher as well. I put it on social media. I've probably bought like 10 copies. I just give them away to fans of the Packers. And then when they told me there was going to be a volume 2, they asked if I would write the foreword. And I was like, are you effing kidding me? Of course. I'll pay you to write the foreword, And so there's a new volume of Letters to Matt LaFleur, which comes out, I think, in April of this year. It's just a really, really eccentric, kind of amazing document.
Nickolas, thank you so much for joining us today on the first 50 pages. We really know that readers are going to fall in love with The 40-Year Kiss.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I can't keep doing it without librarians, libraries, readers, independent bookstores, so I don't take it for granted. I really appreciate it.